All right, so this one's going to be different. Instead of the weekly Speak Up for Julian podcast that has a bunch of stuff about school boards and things like that, this one is going to be less of a podcast and be more of an intro, quick run over of everything that's on this merch wall, the videos that I have not gotten to. I'm going to tell you which shirts we've got, who we're going to be tagging, and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tag all the bands in this one. So there's going to be a bunch of bands tagged. I'm going to name them off, and what's going to happen is I'm not going to be able to do all these merch wall videos justice all at once. But if your band sees this post and sees your band tagged and you say, yes, I want to support and I want my merch wall video done now, then respond. And you'll go to the top of the list and I'll make sure that we get you every last bit of the story that is deserved. So let's start with how we're doing some of these bands, because not everything relates exactly to a specific band. The first one is actually pretty easy. We've got 3 Days Grace, and then we've got Theory of Dead Man. We've already had one for Disturbed, but I think I owe a little bit more now. We've got Def Leppard, Motley Crue, we've got In This Moment, we've got Alice Cooper. We've got Alice Cooper again. I actually just did that video a couple of days ago. I have to edit it and it'll be out. Then we've got Stranger Things. So that doesn't directly apply to bands, but you know what? I might go ahead and tag it anyway. Then we've got Falling in Reverse. We've got In This Moment again. So some of you appear twice. There will be some reasons for that. I'll tell you when, why, how, and what all this means. We've got Five Finger Death Punch. We've got Welcome to Rockville. We've got 98 Rock Fest 12. We've got Starset. We've got Foreigner. We've got another Welcome to Rockville shirt. I'll explain why we've got the two different ones when we do that. We've got Imagine Dragons. We've got Daughtry. I've already done one for Daughtry, but I think Chris Daughtry needs a better follow-up. We've got one for Garbage. I did one for Alanis Morissette because that's actually where he got this shirt. I owe a different one to Garbage specifically. That's coming. Got Five Finger Death Punch again. Got Nothing More. I've already done one for Nothing More. Guess what? There's more to that story, and since you're on my arm already, I owe you a little bit more. We've got Lorna Shore. We've got Styx. We've got Skillet. We've got Memphis Made Fire. We've got the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. We've got Skillet again. Their release stories. Behind the chair, don't worry, we'll get all these rotated so you can see them all, but if you look at the other videos, you can see before I moved everything exactly which shirts we've got here. So we've got Blake Shelton, another story. We've got Fallout Boy. We've got Hailstorm. We've got Bon Jovi. We've got Maroon 5. We've got AC/DC. Not an actual concert shirt. It's got a story. I'm still going to go ahead and tag the band. And then just barely out of frame, this one has, and I think I've alluded to this before, a much darker story, but over on the side we have Architects. So I've got a few piles of shirts. If you're not on the merch wall, but there's still a story that has to do with Julian, and I still want to tag you, you're going to be in this pile. This is the pile of shirts, that, by the way, these are all mine and Lisa's shirts. This is the pile of shirts that goes directly with somebody already on the wall. This is a pile of shirts that has a Julian story, but you're not on the wall for one reason or another, but trust me, we still support. And then this pile right here are other artists that I do want to tag for reasons more personal to me that Julian either never got the chance to see, or quite honestly, there are several that Julian would not have wanted to go with me. But this pile of shirts is for other artists who I think really mean something to this, but there's no direct Julian story. We've got a few other things, a couple of hats, some guitar picks, a couple of drumsticks, some posters. So when I get these done right, and I'm not doing these drunkenly, so I apologize. When I started doing these podcasts, not only did I have no idea what I was getting into, but it also hurts a lot to do it. So we've been getting better about our drinking. And then when I started really getting into this, yeah, we slipped a lot. I slipped a lot. So I'm leaving those earlier ones. I'm not deleting any of it because it is what it is. But what I do owe all of the bands that I've already posted one, even if there's not an additional story that has yet to be told, what I owe those bands is for my sloppiness, and I will do a better, less mumbling kind of version. And for what I don't have any direct shirts for, there will be a few one-offs, and I don't know what I'll have yet to show and tell. But if I don't have any merch from you, if I don't have any tickets that actually have your names on them, but somehow you're still involved, I'll figure out how I'm going to do those. But I promise, if there's a band that has something to do with this, you're getting your own video, because I want to know if you support this, wherever I have space left on my arm, where you would like to go. Until we get a little bit more filled in, they go where I want them to go. But when we have to start filling in spaces, that's where I'll start asking, hey, if you support, I would love to add you to the Speak Up for Julian sleeve. Where would you like to go? I don't know how long or if we'll ever even get to that point. But again, doing this way, not the way that I've seen others do it, because quite honestly, we need to do something differently. If you look around yourself and think that we don't need to do things differently, then I don't think we can have much of a conversation. But when it comes to what we're trying to do, what I'm trying to do as Julian's voice, but back to the whole point of why the guitar picks, why the merch wall, why the hat, right? The hat has its own story that is still being written. So maybe I'll have to do a Star Wars version where I'll give you episode 4, 5, 6, and then we'll go back to how it all began. Could be interesting. I don't know. As I'm doing this, if I say something crazy like that, give me some feedback. As I'm trying to produce this content for this movement, as we try to segue from the depressing stuff, I need to know what y'all would like to see when it comes to telling these stories about how these bands had some influence on our lives, how they influenced Julian, who he was, what kind of stuff he was doing, how they still move and shape so many things that we do. So as I give these stories about these bands and how it relates to our family, I'd like to know what would make this better storytelling for y'all. So help me out with that. When it comes to some of these longer ones, would you rather I try to keep it short, direct and to the point, or show you the shirt, point out something about the details, good, bad, ugly, or otherwise, and then talk about why it was eye-catching, why either he selected it, or we recommended it, or we recommended against it. Because I can tell you where we were when he got that shirt, how many times he had seen that group or person, and then ask if you'll support. And each of these merch wall videos can be 1 to 2 minutes apiece, or preferentially I tell you how some of these link together, when and where, how we were situated, whether or not we were in seats, or whether or not when Julian finally started getting into the pit, that changed everything for him, because he had never really wanted to be in the pit. So anyway, do you want me to give you the big stories, or do you just want Cliff's Notes? I guess I could give you 2 versions of each merch wall video, and I'll just cut all of the storytelling out of it, and then just the facts and the whole story. I think I've pretty well decided what I'm going to do. But again, if y'all give me some feedback, let me know how you'd like to see it, I can start trying to make these more enjoyable to watch. The background is still going to be the fact that we're doing this in the first place, but what I want you to do is think about what we're trying to do. That's the positive side of this. And I know the subject matter is terrible, but we need to look at what we can do that's positive. And I can try to make it not so hard to watch these videos, not so hard for me to have to make these videos. Somehow I think all of this works better than creating the Speak Up for Julian tax-exempt charitable organization to take money. I get it. There are needs for certain things. But as I've looked at all of the charities that currently exist, and the fact that it is so easy to ask somebody to just send money. This is my sad cause. And if you would open your pocketbooks, you can help. Right? We've got that. Right? We do that day in and day out. Good people are doing good things. Good people are contributing money for good people to do good things. Somewhere in the corporate noise, it goes astray, but we still do good, just not with efficiency. I want to try to get these organizations that already exist to pool their resources, come together, help us really fix this. Defunding the LGBTQ portion of the suicide crisis line. Come on, between these organizations, we can fix this easily. Most states have it as a surcharge for telephone services, and it gets funded the same kind of way that 911 gets funded. but not all of them do. The idea is sound. The service is unfortunately needed. I would love to see it needed less, but that's not where we are today. We need it more. If all of these organizations fighting separate good battles could come together, then we can reduce the need for so many of these organizations. And so then the question becomes, does the organization want to complete its goal and cease to be useful? That's scary, right? Because the foundation that you built up for the end goal, but after so many years, that end goal is just always off in the future, and it's just become what we do. What if you could have that end goal and then the organization no longer needs to exist? Can we try to get these organizations that wish they didn't have to exist to come together and really fix this? So instead of starting Speak Up for Julian as a charity, we're doing guitar picks, doing merch wall videos, talking to bands, I'm putting tattoos on my arm, I'm doing public speaking, I've got these podcasts. I don't know where this goes, but I tell you what, it's something different. Let's see if we can do something with it. Love above all. Speak up for all of them. These are supporting Julian and everyone. We need to speak up for all of them. We need to make this stop.